Okay, think about this for a second. You know when you're helping a little kid count, 1, 2, 3, it seems so basic, like the absolute starting point.
Yeah, from the middle.
Exactly. But then, math gets bigger. Adding, subtracting, multiplication comes along. Those big multi-digit numbers start showing up, and it can feel like a huge jump.
It is a huge jump. We all go through it.
We do. But here's what I've been wondering, especially looking at our source today. That initial foundation, that simple counting, is it really giving kids a deep feel for what numbers actually mean?
Or are they just chanting sounds they memorized?
Precisely. Do they feel the 5 or just say 25?
And that feeling versus just saying the word.
Yeah.
That's right at the heart of what our source material for this deep dive is getting at.
Okay.
Yeah, we got this article from Stylomanas. It's called Bundle Counting for Deep Math Understanding. And it seems to build on work from their blog, Beyond the Desk, Level Up.
Right, bundle counting.
Yeah.
And the article presents it as something, well, simple, familiar even, like totally natural stuff. But they argue it has this kind of quiet power, something transformative for how kids really get numbers. They mention a video, a workbook too, but we're focusing on the article, right? Unpacking the text.
Exactly. That's the mission for this deep dive. Let's unpack what this bundle counting thing actually is, according to them, and why they think it's so critical for like deep math understanding.
Not just for counting bears, but...
No, way beyond that. All the way up to stuff that usually makes kids stumble later on, and importantly, how it's different from just, learning quick tricks to get answers fast.
Okay, so think of this as our way to really get the core of their argument on building numbers this specific way.
Yeah, a shortcut to understanding this approach.
All right, let's jump in. Bundle counting. What's the basic idea according to the article?
Okay, so at its core, it's about seeing numbers not just as like an endless line of single things, 1, 2, 3, 4, forever. It's about seeing them as collections, groups, and specifically groups of 10. It kind of mirrors how we actually handle stuff in the real world.
Okay, give me some examples. What do they mention in the article? Tangible stuff.
Well, things kids already know, like your 10 fingers.
Right.
That's a natural group, right? A bundle, as they call it.
Okay, yeah. 10 fingers, 1 bundle.
Or money. 10 1 rupee coins often get swapped for a 10 rupee note. That's a bundle. Or say you've got like 20 craft sticks. You don't just see 20 things.
You see 2 10s, 2 bundles.
Exactly. Or if you have 25 sticks, you see the 2 bundles of 10 and then, 5 loose ones, 5 individuals.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's literally taking a number, like 25, and instead of just the word, you're seeing it as 2 bundles and 5 extras.
You got 2 bundles, 5 ones. It turns the abstract label into something visual, something concrete.
2 bundles and 5.
And the article really stresses how simple and natural this feels. It's not some, complicated new technique you have to teach. It's just giving a name to how we might group things anyway. But they argue that this seemingly small shift has really big implications down the road for math.
Okay, it feels intuitive. I get that. But why is it so important? What's the big deal compared to just, drilling kids to count higher and higher? 100, good job.
Well, the source gives a few key reasons. First off, it just makes bigger numbers less scary or manageable right away.
How so?
Think about counting past 20. Instead of just reciting 21, 22, 23, which can just be sounds. A kid using bundle counting sees it. They see 2 bundles in 1, and 2 bundles in 2, 2 bundles in 3.
So they're anchored. They're tracking the bundles, the 10s.
Right. It anchors the quantity. It grounds that abstract number name in something they can actually picture, or even touch if they have, sticks or blocks.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. It's not just a word floating in space. It's a picture. 2 bundles and a few more.
Exactly. And the article argues this starts building real number sense, almost subconsciously. Kids start to get the structure of 10s and 1s just by counting this way.
Before anyone even mentions a place value chart.
Way before. The concepts, they say, kind of sneak in gently without pressure.
Yeah.
You're building the feel for the structure before you slap the formal labels on it, like 10's place, 1's place.
It's building the feel before the label. I like that.
Yeah. And maybe the biggest thing, the article claims this naturally sets them up for operations. Addition, subtraction.
Hey.
Especially when you get into bigger numbers.
Oh.
Because fundamentally, what are addition and subtraction? They're about combining groups, taking groups away, regrouping concepts that are right there when you're bundling things up or, breaking a bundle apart.
Ah, okay. So if you need to add 12 and 15, you're thinking 1 bundle and 2 plus 1 bundle and 5. You combine the bundles, combine the ones.
Exactly. The article says this approach lays that groundwork quietly, joyfully.
Yeah.
It's not just about counting past 20. It's building the core understanding of how numbers actually work together, how they combine, how they break apart.
Which is basically what operations are all about.
Precisely. And this is where the source makes a really interesting connection, a leap even. They argue this logic, this way of seeing numbers, doesn't just stop with basic arithmetic. This understanding that, say, 30's 3 bundles. That's not just a counting fact. It's seeing a pattern, a structure.
Okay, structure.
And that structural thinking, they claim, is the bridge to much more complex math.
Wait a minute, structure. How does counting sticks and bundles connect to something like algebra? That feels like a huge leap.
I know, right? But that's the really powerful claim the article makes. They actually use the phrase bundle logic is visual pre-algebra.
A visual pre-algebra, wow.
Yeah. They suggest that a child who really deeply understands that 30 is just 3 tens, 3 bundles, is actually prepping their brain for algebra.
How? What's the example?
Okay, so they give this example. That same kid later on might see an algebraic expression like 3x, and instead of freezing up at the x, they might intuitively think something like, x is like 1 bundle. I just don't know how many are inside, so 3x must be 3 of those bundles.
Whoa. Okay. That is the powerful way to think about it. It takes that abstract, scary x and connects it back to something tangible, like a bundle of sticks, even if the number inside is unknown.
You're still seeing it as a group, a unit.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from the specific number to the idea of a grouped quantity.
Which is exactly what variables do in algebra. They represent a quantity.
Precisely. And the article makes it clear that their whole approach, and this includes the stuff in their video workbook they mentioned, for numbers 21, 30, it's not about handing out formulas. It's not about drilling for speed.
So it's not about being the fastest kid in the class at sums.
Nope, not at all. The emphasis is all on nurturing that number sense, building a sort of comfortable rhythm with numbers, making sure that comfort actually lasts. They explicitly say that's what lasts. Their core philosophy seems to really boil down to this phrase they use, quiet power, not loud tricks.
Quiet power, like building deep understanding through these simple, natural ways. And loud tricks. Maybe those quick shortcuts that get you an answer, but you don't really know why.
That's exactly how I read it. The article wraps up by arguing that kids don't need the flashy, fast stuff. What they really need, according to this source, is this thoughtful rhythm. Something that gives them logic, comfort, and this tangible way to understand number structure.
Which connects everything up, ultimately. Even to algebra.
Yeah. It's pretty compelling, isn't it? How something that seems so basic, just grouping in tens, is presented here as this quiet key that can unlock really complex mathematical ideas later on.
It really makes you rethink that very first step, that initial counting phase.
Absolutely. It highlights that how we build that early number sense really, really matters. You've got this deep, tangible feel for structure and grouping. Well, then moving to more abstract stuff might feel less like a terrifying leap.
And more like just extending something you already kind of get.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's zoom back out on this deep dive. The source material from Stylomanas, this article on bundle counting.
Yeah.
It's making a really strong case, isn't it? That the simple method, seeing numbers as tens plus extras, it's actually a massive building block. Not just for counting higher, but for really deep mathematical understanding.
Right. It's positioned as a way to get kids past just chanting number words, to actually, feeling the quantity, visualizing it.
Makes big numbers feel doable.
Yeah, manageable. And it quietly builds that number sense, that intuition about tens and ones, and gets them ready for adding and subtracting without maybe even realizing it.
And they push it further, claiming it sets up this mental framework, this visual pre-algebra.
That's the kicker, yeah. Helping kids see pattern, structure, even grouped unknowns like X in a concrete way, forging that link to multiplication, division, algebra.
All stemming from seeing 30 as 3 bundles. It reinforces that core idea they have.
Quiet power, not loud tricks. Yeah. It's all about nurturing understanding, rhythm, comfort, not just memorizing formulas or racing the clock, finding the math rhythm before you worry about the specific formula.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about maybe. If really understanding the structure of numbers deeply, through simple things like bundling, if that can genuinely pave the way for advanced stuff like algebra, Well, how else could focusing on the fundamental rhythm, the underlying structure of an idea, unlock deeper understanding?
Instead of just teaching the formula or the trick.
Right. In totally different subjects, even. What other areas out there could benefit from finding their own bundle counting? Finding the rhythm versus just memorizing the steps makes you wonder.